They invited all the royals to Lilibet's christening, but they all declined to come, as if they're all going to get on a plane and fly to California to embrace the people who've been trashing them for the last 3 years.
An absolute illuminating bombshell in regards to Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's absolute insane story of Archie's birth.
They felt like her posts on social media where she barely shows the kids is almost taunting the king, who doesn't know these children.
Rachel Meghan, Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Sussex, née Markle, did not give birth to Archie.
Why would they want to inflict on their children royal titles that make them part of the royal family worldwide and expose them to the misery and pain and trauma which Harry tells us he suffers on an hourly basis, normally for large checks?
Piers Morgan just said something that has sent Meghan into complete meltdown inside that Montecito mansion. An official UK government birth record proves Archie was registered 5 days before he was even born. The palace has no explanation. Piers Morgan does. And what he is saying right now changes absolutely everything.
Parliament has come out and flatly admitted that they have no documents and therefore they cannot confirm simply whether Archie was born at the Portland hospital.
Here's what you need to understand about Piers Morgan before anything else. He has been saying this for years, not quietly, not carefully, loudly, publicly, and with his full name attached to every single word.
They kept telling the world how ghastly the monarchy is. It's a prison camp. All the royals want to get away from it, but they can't because they're trapped in the world of titles and privilege. And now they want to give their kids the titles of prince and princess, even though they don't live anywhere near the royal family. They don't do any duties. They do nothing to deserve it. They live in a mansion in Montecito in California and use their own royal titles to make loads of money.
They live in a mansion in Montecito in California and use their own royal title to make loads of money, while every other journalist in Britain was looking the other way, protecting the story, music, protecting their access, protecting their relationships with Harry and Meghan's team. Piers Morgan was the one person standing in the middle of the room, saying what every single person watching this already knew deep down was true, and they came for him because of it.
The distinction with these two is they have openly attacked the institution of the monarchy. Diana didn't do that. Fergie didn't do that. They have unloaded on the institution being a prison camp that no one can escape from. Why then would they call their kids Prince and Princess?
He lost a television job. He was dragged through the press. He was called every name imaginable. And he did not stop, not for one single day. Because Piers Morgan understood something that the rest of the mainstream media either could not see or refused to acknowledge.
Harry and Meghan have made an unbelievably serious allegation against a senior member of the royal family, which is incredibly damaging to the royal family and to the monarchy. Let's have the name. They know who it is. Stop smearing everybody by association and give us the name of this person. But they also say in the same interview that their baby, Archie, has had a new rule brought in by the royals to prevent him from being a prince.
When you are willing to attack the British royal family publicly for years, brand them as racist, describe the institution as a prison, collect millions of pounds doing it, and then turn around and demand that your children carry the titles of that same institution, something does not add up. And when something does not add up, music. You keep pulling at the thread until it unravels.
Member of color in this family not being titled in the same way that other grandchildren would be. It's not their right to take it away.
Used in a very, very nasty way to attack people who couldn't answer back.
Yes, and brand them a bunch of racists when they weren't.
Racism is a terrible accusation to make because it's easy to make.
Well, the thread just unraveled in the form of an official UK government document, and Piers Morgan is not letting anyone look away from it. Piers Morgan has been specific about this from the moment it surfaced. He is not talking about gossip. He is not talking about rumor or speculation or tabloid sources. He is talking about a certified copy of Archie's official UK birth recorded directly from the General Register Office, dispatched by the British government, and physically received. And what is printed on that document is something that Piers Morgan says the palace cannot explain away, no matter how hard they try.
I want to make it absolutely clear what Harry and Meghan allegedly did with this document, because when you see this document changes everything. When you see that Meghan Markle and Harry, if this is true, they have committed a fraud against the United Kingdom and the British monarchy, and that is treason, which is punished with life in prison, both Harry and Meghan. This has nothing to do about the child or what the child looks like or anything like that. It has to do with the lie.
The date of registration on that official government document reads the 1st of May, 2019. Now, here's why Piers Morgan immediately understood the significance of that single date. Harry and Meghan told the world Archie was born on the 6th of May, 2019. That is the date on every official palace announcement, the date the world accepted, the date recorded in every royal document ever published, the date that has never once been questioned by a single mainstream journalist until now.
This is application for a birth certificate. She blacked out their customer number, names, and stuff like that, because of course those are her private details. And she's asking for a copy of a birth certificate for Archie Mountbatten Windsor. She asked for this copy on February 21st, 2026, and it was dispatched. The dispatch date was 27th February 26th. And she saw Archie Mountbatten Windsor, Archie, date of birth, May 6th. She put it away after she saw this date, that this data was okay. So she figured, okay, it is true.
But the registration date on the government's own document says May the 1st, 5 full days before Archie was supposedly born. Piers Morgan put the question directly and publicly. How does a child get registered before he exists?
Then she pulled it out about yesterday or the day before yesterday. And then she looked at the date of registration. The date that the birth was registered, according to this document, was the 1st of May of 2019. How? I immediately, when I saw this on her page, I immediately phoned the UK's registrar's office to ask if that's how they do it, if they register, pre-register the child, if for example, they say if the child is going to be born on May 9th, that would only be if they plan to induce the birth, or for example, if it was a C-section or anything, just to give the benefit of the doubt, right?
When the question was put to UK Registrar's office directly, the answer left absolutely no room for debate. Pre-registration of a birth is not possible under any circumstances. In the music United Kingdom, it does not happen for scheduled procedures. It does not happen for planned inductions. It does not happen for members of the royal family. Registration always happens after the birth because nobody can guarantee in advance that the child will survive. That is British law, and it carries no exception for anyone regardless of their title or their palace connections.
The lady said that they never pre-register a child because they don't know if the child is going to be alive or anything like that. And it's usually done within 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks that the child is born, not before that. That does not exist. That if it says DOR, date of registry, that's the date that the baby was registered. I've always said that Doria came about 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks prior to Archie being born.
Then Piers Morgan turned his attention to the Red Book. When the Registrar traveled to Frogmore Cottage to formally log Archie's birth, an act that was already a significant deviation from standard procedure, she was never once shown the Red Book. Every British parent receives a Red Book at the hospital the moment their baby arrives. It contains every verifiable detail of the birth, the exact time, the weight, the names of every attending medical professional. It is the mandatory document you present when you register your child. No substitutes exist. No exceptions are made for anyone.
Deputy Registrar Deksha Mevara, keep that name very much in mind, because then you'll see that we have been telling you facts in this channel. Deksha Mevara from the city of Westminster had traveled from Paddington to Windsor for an interview with the parents. And she was not allowed to meet with Harry. It was with the PA. They did not show her the Red Book, which is given to all the parents when the child is born, with all the details, with the name of the attending or anything like that.
What was placed in front of that registrar instead was a handwritten affidavit from Harry's personal protection officer, an affidavit that included a specific clause releasing that same officer from any legal or disciplinary responsibility for the accuracy of what was written inside it. Piers Morgan highlighted this detail immediately. A protection officer, not a doctor, a handwritten note, not a hospital record, and a legal disclaimer built into the document so that even the person presenting it was protected from.
Harry had, he asked his trusted protection officer, whose name shall remain closed. I have seen the officer keeping a handwritten affidavit from Prince Harry that relieves him from responsibility and any legal or disciplinary action taken against the officer. And he said, yeah, I was present. Well, obviously not present as such, but present at the said hospital at the said time. It's incredible. Please keep in mind that she never saw the red book. She had to take Harry's word for it. This is on May 17, 2019.
If it turned out to be wrong, the mainstream media had every piece of this information available to them. Not one outlet ran the story. Not one journalist followed up. Piers Morgan calls it an embarrassment to British journalism. And he is right.
When she claimed the only reason
disgraceful.
Archie hadn't been already made a prince was because of his skin colour.
Well-
It turned out she just didn't understand.
Okay.
No, I'm asking Michael,
yeah,
because he knows
okay.
about these things.
Of course.
About how the system actually works.
Well-
There was no racism.
No, none at all, and that was actually quite shameful, what was said at that time.
Piers Morgan has said repeatedly that the most damaging evidence against Harry and Meghan's birth story did not come from an investigator. It did not come from a palace source or a leaked document. It came from Harry himself, written in his own hand, published in his own book, sold to the public for millions of pounds. In Spare, Harry describes the night of Archie's birth in specific and vivid detail. The secret drive to the Portland hospital. Meghan receiving not one but 2 full epidurals during what Harry himself described as a difficult and complicated birth.
Where were the doctors? We know that Meghan Markle did not have 2 epidurals and then was spanked and put in a van within an hour of giving birth. We know that those are lies. And these are lies that the mainstream media, they don't want to dig and scratch a little bit. No, they leave it to us, the crazy ones, the conspiracy theorists, right? In spite of the fact that we're asking very valid questions. There is no way that any hospital in the world would allow a woman, and Meghan Markle was considered a geriatric pregnancy. And by Harry's own words, it was a very complicated birth. There is no hospital that's going to allow a woman that they needed to tap up the epidural twice, and they're just going to wipe her butt and put her on a van within an hour.
And then within 2 hours of that birth, they were back at Frogmore Cottage. 2 hours total, including a drive that takes 1 hour and 10 minutes in each direction. Music. Piers Morgan put this on television and asked a simple question. Has anyone involved in this story ever actually given birth? Because every woman in Britain who heard that timeline already knew it was impossible before he finished the music sentence. 2 epidurals means you cannot move your lower body for at minimum 1 full hour after delivery. You cannot stand without assistance. A catheter must be removed by medical staff. Bleeding must be assessed and monitored carefully. Vital signs must reach acceptable levels before discharge is even discussed.
Why do I say within an hour? Because Harry in his book says that within 2 hours, they were back at Frogmore Cottage. Frogmore Cottage is about an hour and 10 minutes from the hospital. So that means that they had to wipe less than an hour. They had to wipe her, clean her, whatever it is, you stitch up in case she tore or whatever, and then put it there. So Meghan Markle barely gave birth. She still has the effects of the epidural, and they're going to put her in a van and send her back. And of course, the palace doesn't know about it. That is absolute insanity.
These are not guidelines. These are medical requirements that no hospital anywhere in the world skips, especially not for a high-risk and complicated birth that Harry himself described in print. A retired nurse watching Piers Morgan make this argument on television said it in exactly 4 words. 0 chance. 0.
This is not like it's 1 letter or 2 letters, because the state of California says you can replace 1 or 2 letters. You still need a little bit of, documentation to fill out. But in this one, if the wrong man was listed entirely, this is considered establishing legal parentage rather than a simple correction. California requires a court process known as adjudication of facts of parentage.
Then Piers Morgan pointed to the dress. When Meghan stepped out for her first public appearance after Archie's birth, she was wearing music, white, head to toe white. Piers Morgan said what every woman watching already knew. You simply do not wear white hours after giving birth. That is not a fashion observation. That is evidence. Music.
Duke of Sussex was the father, but Rachel Meghan was not the woman who identified as Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Sussex who gave birth to that child. Otherwise, why have they amended the birth certificate? Because that would actually be falsifying the birth certificate. That would be saying, oh, we made an error.
Publicly named as the doctor who delivered Archie, her own husband immediately contacted the Daily Mail and put his name on record, saying his wife had not delivered Archie. He went music, public willingly with his full name attached.
At the time, they were also saying that Dr. Penelope Law was the one who delivered Archie. She is a lady. She's married to Richard Bradford, who I believe is an earl. And he actually posted a tweet saying, my wife did not deliver Archie, but the son never contacted us to check if she had. Typical shabby journalism, whereas the Daily Mail rang me the day before to check, and I was able to tell them that she hadn't delivered Archie.
Meghan never corrected the story, never issued a clarification, never filed a lawsuit against anyone who repeated it. Piers Morgan noticed that immediately, and he has not stopped noticing it since. Piers Morgan has returned to this moment more than once on television because he believes it is one of the most revealing things Harry has ever accidentally said in public. This is the
date that this entry was made, not the birth certificate. Look who did this, because she drove to to Frogmore Cottage, and it was the Deputy Register de Nevada. She is the lady that drove that date on May 17th, 2019. And this date here, 17th of May, is not when they registered the child, is when she made this particular entry.
Go back to those first days after Archie was announced. Harry stood in front of cameras looking visibly uncomfortable, selecting each word with obvious and extreme care. And then he said something that every other journalist in Britain allowed to simply vanish. He said babies change so much in 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Remember when Harry announced the day of Archie's birth? He slipped up and he said that it was amazing how Archie had grown in 2 weeks. I think he said changed. But I get the point. I could be wrong and you could be right. The gruesome twosome are both liars and frauds, and those kids need to be DNA tested. It makes me wonder if the palace is complicit in covering up this surrogacy, or whether they were hoodwinked just like the general public.
Archie had allegedly just been born days before. He was supposed to be a brand new newborn, and Harry looked directly at those cameras and told the world his baby had changed so much in 2 weeks. Piers Morgan said this was not a slip of the tongue. This was not nerves. This was a man describing something he had personally been observing for considerably longer than the official timeline permits.
I think it already has. I do believe that Harry and Meghan lied to the Queen. Meghan didn't want to have the Queen's doctors, and she knew why. Now, when you see this document, you're going to know why.
So it's been a special couple days.
Who does he take after? Does he look like anyone?
We're still trying to figure that out.
No, everyone says the baby's changed so much over 2 weeks. We're basically...
Then there's the baptism photograph, the one Meghan's own office sent digitally to British newspapers. The metadata embedded inside that image file, data that cannot be changed or altered after the fact, shows it was captured on May the 8th, 2 days after the official birth date given to the world. The baby in that photograph does not look like a 48-year-old newborn. Piers Morgan has said this. Medical professionals have said this. Every parent who has ever held a real newborn baby in their first 2 days of life has said this. That is not what is in that photograph, and everyone can see it.
We all remember that I've done many, many videos about this, and not only me, Bookworm, many, many YouTubers have done a video about this. This is the picture, the official baptism picture that Meghan Markle, the office of Meghan Markle, sent to the newspapers. They sent it digitally. So they were able to look at the metadata. The metadata here, it tells you the date and time original. That cannot be changed. And this picture clearly was Photoshop, right? This picture was taken on May 8th, 2019, 2 days after this child was allegedly born. How's that possible? And the newspapers know about this, by the way, because everybody has brought this up. And at the time when it was published, you can just right click on the picture and you got the metadata, which is how everybody got it. That picture was taken on May 8th, 2019.
Then there was the polo match. 3 full hours. Meghan held the baby throughout the entire event. It never cried, never fed, never moved the way real newborns move when held by someone unfamiliar. Piers Morgan watched that footage and said what millions of viewers were already saying privately. Others referenced by name a specific 3,000-pound silicone reborn doll and said the behavior across those 3 hours was completely identical.
I mean, it's just so odd that one is born in the UK, one is born in America. And I think that American-born child is her leverage because that's her territory. So that's important for her. So that part, I believe, was definitely planned, manipulated, you know.
Also, California is brutal towards males.
Now, Piers Morgan makes this point in a way that cuts through everything else. Harry and Meghan have never commented publicly on any of the birth allegations. Not one statement. Music. Not one denial. Not one lawsuit filed against a single person making these claims publicly over multiple years. Not one legal letter sent to anyone. Piers Morgan says this simply and directly. If any word of this were untrue, every person making these claims would be in a courtroom immediately. That is what innocent people do. That is what defamation law is for. The silence is not nothing. The silence is the only answer Harry and Meghan have ever given on this subject.
There is absolutely no way that the palace or anybody in the royal family would have been complicit in any deception of such a nature upon the public. They would not have ever approved of it. And if it had taken place, once they found out that such a thing had taken place.
Piers Morgan has been asking one specific question for months that no other journalist in Britain will engage with publicly. If Harry and Meghan place their Sussex titles at the top of every deal, every pitch, every partnership, and every brand negotiation, while simultaneously telling the world that same institution destroyed their lives and nearly killed them, then what exactly is the product they are selling? He calls it hypocrisy on an industrial scale. And now, senior palace sources are confirming he has been right about all of it, because inside Buckingham Palace right now, senior advisors have opened what is being described as a formal internal verification review directly connected to Archie and Libet, their births, their documentation, their official constitutional standing in relation to the British Crown.
I did talk to a lawyer, and he was saying that given that the irregularities in the birth certificate, he said there's no way this would have passed muster at the hospital. He would have had to present a document that to show, and there is no way that anybody's going to give him that, because in the United States, it would be his birth certificate, and Harry's birth certificate lists all his names.
Right.
The other thing that he told me is like, unless he wasn't there and he didn't get to review, because they tell you at the hospital that you have to look at the things. You have to go through the documentation to make, did you do that?
Piers Morgan has been warning this moment was coming for months. Multiple sources in the United States and the United Kingdom are now confirming it simultaneously. Part of what triggered the review was the birth certificate itself. Months after Archie's birth, Meghan's full legal name, Rachel Meghan Markle, was quietly removed from the document, replaced with only her title, no first name, no surname. Piers Morgan highlighted the conflicting stories immediately. Music Meghan's team said the palace requested the change. Palace sources said the request came entirely from her side. No unified account, no paper trail, Just a changed constitutional document, and two completely contradictory explanations with nobody willing to sign their name to either one.
Removing the names Rachel and Meghan, it suggests that Rachel Meghan, Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Sussex, née Markle, did not give birth to Archie. That a woman who was identified as Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Sussex gave birth to that child, but it was not Rachel Meghan, because had it been Rachel Meghan, there was no need to remove those two names from the birth certificate.
The attending doctor's signatures were absent from Archie's birth announcement. Piers Morgan has flagged this detail repeatedly. For every previous royal birth announcement, the full names and personal signatures of the medical professionals present were included as standard for George, for Charlotte, for Louis. Those signatures are not ceremonial. They are constitutional documents that exist specifically because a birth inside the line of succession must be independently verified. Their absence from Archie's announcement has never been explained by anyone in the palace music or outside of it. And then there is the Queen. Piers Morgan speaks about this with particular and visible anger. The Queen requested her personal physicians be present at Meghan's birth. She made that wish known clearly. Meghan refused. The Queen's personal physicians are not simply highly qualified doctors. They are the most credible independent witnesses available anywhere in the country. And Meghan chose to have no independent witnesses in that room at all. Piers Morgan says what many people already believe. She sat across from the Queen of England, and she lied directly to her face. That is what is at the center of all of this, and the palace is now examining every document connected to both children because of it.
Her Oprah comment was very suggestive of the fact that she knew that there was some question as to the entitlement of that child to any title whatsoever, save a courtesy title.
Piers Morgan has described what investigators found when they turned their attention to Leet as genuinely unprecedented in modern royal history. And when you hear what was and was not found, you will understand exactly why he used that word. Leidy was born in California, announced entirely through Harry and Meghan's own personal communications team. No British doctors involved at any stage. No palace bulletin issued. No easel outside Buckingham Palace. No royal medical oversight of any music kind for a private celebrity's child. That would be completely unremarkable. But Leet Diana holds a formal constitutional position in the British line of succession, and her entire birth was confirmed by nobody outside of Harry and Meghan's own hired team. When palace advisors checked Church of England records connected to Lilith's Californian, they reportedly found nothing at all. No entry, no registry record, no acknowledgement from any bishop, no confirmation from the Archbishop's office anywhere. Music. Piers Morgan has been direct about what this means constitutionally. A royal christening is not a photo opportunity. It is a constitutional act that formally connects a royal child to the Church of England. Music, the institution that is inseparable from the crown itself. Without that record, Leet's connection to the monarchy is legally incomplete, not uncertain. Legally incomplete.
A lot of things about the birth seems very, sketchy. And Harry would have gotten lost in that situation in terms of, things that he needed to do legally for the birth of a child that was his. I know there's a lot of discrepancies around the birth certificate and, the names, the timeline, even
everything,
the children, everything.
The doctor who allegedly delivered her closed her entire medical practice exactly 2 weeks after that birth. No announcement, no explanation, simply gone. Then there are the claims from Meghan's own family members. Her ex-husband and her brother have both separately referenced a medical procedure that would make carrying a child biologically impossible. Those claims have never been denied under oath, never challenged in any court, never addressed in any verifiable public statement music by anyone connected to Meghan directly. Piers Morgan uses the word treason deliberately. Placing children into the British line of succession under false pretenses is not a minor matter. Archie and Leet are currently 5th and 6th in line to the throne. Prince George is 13 years old. A great deal can happen over the years ahead. These are not abstract constitutional concerns. They're entirely real, and Piers Morgan reserves his sharpest words for King Charles. After Oprah, nothing. After Netflix, nothing. After Spare, nothing. After music, every coordinated public attack on the institution he was born to protect. Charles chose a son over his duty to the British people every single time. Piers Morgan has said clearly that this weakness did not make the problem go away. It stored up a far bigger wonder, and that bigger problem has now landed directly in William's hands. Piers Morgan said something once that is worth repeating right now. Using a surrogate is not a scandal. People do it every single day, and nobody would have judged them for it. The story would have lasted 1 week, and the world would have moved on completely. The crime was never the children. The crime was looking the Queen of England directly in the eye and lying, looking the British people in the eye and lying for years, and using music, race, trauma, and victimhood as a permanent shield, so that nobody would dare ask the questions you're already asking long before Piers Morgan started asking them publicly. Somewhere inside that Montecito mansion right now, they are still counting on getting away with it. Drop your thoughts in the comments right now, and watch the videos on screen because Piers Morgan is not finished, and neither are